I'm so sorry that we're going to have to speed things up. We are about to run out of time.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the most notable instances when news hosts brought an interview to a sudden end, often during a heated exchange, much to the frustration of their guest.
There's one viewer that you care about right now, and you're being obsequious, you're being a factotum in order to please him, okay?
No.
Number 10, Laura Ingraham. In January 2023, activist and author Steve Almond appeared on Laura Ingraham's Fox News show to discuss his support for more safety protocols at the NFL.
But they're not going to do it until there's an economic incentive.
Almond, who wrote the book Against Football, One Fan's Reluctant Manifesto, was motivated by the incident in which Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest during a game. To emphasize the need for economic pressure on the NFL to improve safety, Almond compared the situation to Fox News' sexual harassment scandal.
Because they had a PR problem. It's like at Fox News when you have hosts who are allegedly sexually harassing people.
He then turned his focus to Ingraham, pointing out how she lost advertisers after an insensitive tweet about a survivor of the Parkland High School tragedy. This clearly struck a nerve, prompting the host to cut the interview short.
So when you taunted the survivor of Parkland mass shooting, you apologized only because advertisers withdrew from your show. And
Nice try, buddy. I appreciate it.
Number 9, Jonathan Samuels. Nearly 2 months after the Israel-Hamas war began, both sides agreed to a temporary ceasefire to exchange hostages. Following this, the Israeli Defense Force announced that they would notify Gazans of upcoming airstrikes so they could evacuate those areas.
You're telling people where is going to be targeted next. People don't have power to power up their mobile phones. They haven't got Wi-Fi.
However, many criticized this plan, arguing that Gazans couldn't access the information due to a lack of electricity and Wi-Fi. When IDF spokesperson Doran Spielman appeared on Sky News with host Jonathan Samuels, he tried to counter the criticism by noting that some Gazans had used their phones to record the hostage exchanges.
Hundreds of Gazans holding their phones, videoing them. So clearly there's enough power to power their phones when they're parading our hostages throughout Gaza.
While Spielman was talking, the show ran out of time, forcing Samuels to cut him off and go to a commercial break.
We're not only
Major Spielman, I'm so sorry. We are out of time, but we appreciate your comments this evening.
Number 8. George Stephanopoulos. Back in 2021, after Donald Trump's electoral loss to Joe Biden, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance took to a podcast to voice his opinion.
And say the Chief Justice has made his ruling, now let him enforce it.
Fire everyone in the government, then defy the Supreme Court? You think it's okay for the president to defy the Supreme Court?
Vance suggested that if Trump were to be reelected, he should fire every civil servant and defy any illegitimate Supreme Court rulings. Fast forward to 2024, Vance appeared on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, where the host grilled him about his previous comments.
You said every civil servant in the administrative state.
Let me finish the answer, George. You asked the question.
Vance apparently defended his earlier statements, though he tried to phrase them differently. After asking if the president must follow legitimate Supreme Court rulings, Stephanopoulos appeared dissatisfied with Vance's response. As a result, he cut the senator off, shutting down the interview.
You didn't say military in your answer, and you've made it very clear you believe the president can defy the Supreme Court. Senator, thanks for your time this morning.
Number 7, Mika Brzezinski. In 2018, American journalist Michael Wolff stirred up controversy after hinting at an affair between Donald Trump and a female member of his administration. Although he didn't specify who, many speculated it was UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, based on a section of his controversial book, Fire and Fury, inside the Trump White House.
Is it a woman thing?
Well, I didn't have the blue dress.
No, is it about a woman?
It is.
Oh, it is.
When Wolff appeared on MSNBC's Morning Joe, he was asked about these claims by host Mika Brzezinski. Throughout the interview, Wolff repeatedly denied implying Haley was involved with Trump, which seemed to frustrate Brzezinski.
I'm going to go as far as to say that you might be having a fun time playing a little game dancing around this, but you're slurring a woman. It's disgraceful.
In what must have been followed with moments of very awkward silence, Brzezinski then decided to end the interview, with Wolff still seated right across from her.
Are you kidding me? I'm not reading you anything.
Play the Bill Maher.
If you don't get it, if you don't get what we're talking about, I'm sorry. This is awkward. You're here on the set with us, but we're done. Michael Wolff, thank you.
Number 6, Jake Tapper. Speaking of Michael Wolff's book, just days after its release, White House senior policy advisor Stephen Miller went on CNN's State of the Union with Jake Tapper to refute its claims. The interview grew heated very fast, and Tapper brought up the explosive allegations made by former Trump campaign executive Steve Bannon, whom Miller labeled vindictive.
Page after page after page of the book is pure false. I see sections of the book where events I participated in are described, and I have firsthand knowledge that as they're described, they're completely and totally fraudulent.
He dismissed Wolff's book as a work of very poorly written fiction, and further attempted to discredit Bannon by drastically minimizing his role in the Trump administration.
You have 24 hours a day of anti-Trump material, and you're not going to give 3 minutes for the American people to hear the real experience of Donald Trump.
There's one viewer that you care about right now, and you're being obsequious, you're being a factotum in order to please him.
Tapper eventually concluded that all Miller was interested in was praising Trump to gain his approval. So he abruptly cut him off and moved on to the next topic.
And I think I've wasted enough of my viewers' time. Thank you, Stephen. As Republicans, lawmakers call for Attorney General Jeff Sessions to resign.
Number 5, Grant Stinchfield. When a veteran criticized the Trump administration on conservative network Newsmax, it sparked a contentious response. Iraq war veteran Joe Sabot, who helped to rescue Americans and their allies from Afghanistan after the Taliban takeover, appeared on Newsmax in September 2021.
I can tell you this didn't happen under President Trump. And I know there's a lot of people on the left that want to try to blame President Trump. He wanted out of Afghanistan real bad. He was real frustrated not being able to get out.
Sabot was on with host Grant Stinchfield discussing the chaos that unfolded after the U.S. pulled American troops out of Iraq. Stinchfield seemed to heap the entire blame on the Biden administration, but Sabot disagreed, pointing out that multiple presidents, including Trump, contributed to the situation.
We know that Trump's administration's efforts here were fairly weak, that they were trying to limit the number of people that would get out.
This didn't sit well with Stinchfield. He yelled at the producers to cut Sabot off and harshly criticized him for his mild rebuke of the former presidents.
Joe, cut him off, please. Cut him off now. Cut him off now. You're not going to blame this on President Trump on my show.
Number 4, Brook Baldwin. News anchor Brook Baldwin didn't take kindly to a male guest's inappropriate comments during a live panel discussion on her CNN show in September 2017. Baldwin had invited sports writer Keith Reed and radio host Clay Travis to talk about the calls ESPN had received to fire reporter Jemele Hill after she labeled Donald Trump a white supremacist.
13 million subscribers bailing on the network. They've made bad decisions that have led to ratings collapsing. Jemele Hill's television show is collapsing. Ratings were down 20% last week over last year. I think that's why she's angry.
The conversation was going smoothly until, out of nowhere, Travis uttered an unprofessional comment about women's bodies.
I believe completely in the First Amendment and in boobs. Those are the only two things I believe 100% in this country.
Baldwin was initially too stunned to speak and watched as Reed stepped in to admonish Travis. Once she confirmed that she had heard him clearly, Brook called Travis out before swiftly ending the interview and apologizing to the audience for not acting sooner.
I'm sorry.
To have her
I'm
anatomy
done.
brought up, to have anyone's anatomy brought up in this conversation?
I'm done. This is done. This is conversation over. Yanking mics. Bye. See ya.
Number 3, Kasie Hunt. The first 2024 U.S. presidential debate was already causing a ruckus before it even began. In the days leading up to it, Caroline Leavitt, the Trump campaign's press secretary, visited CNN to speak with host Kasie Hunt about the event. Right off the bat, Leavitt labeled CNN, where the debate was to be moderated by Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, a hostile environment. Despite Hunt's attempts to refocus the discussion on the debate itself, Leavitt persisted in criticizing the network and the moderators. The two eventually began talking over each other, until Hunt decided she'd had enough and yanked Leavitt off the air. The clip of their interaction went viral, with opinions split on whether Hunt's move was justified.
Thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
Number 2, Kristen Welker. Still on the 2024 presidential election, Republican candidate Donald Trump, as well as many of his allies, refused to commit directly to accepting the results, regardless of the outcome. One of such allies, Senator Marco Rubio, who was rumored to be a potential vice president pick for Trump, appeared on NBC's Meet the Press with host Kristen Welker. When asked if he would accept the election outcome, Rubio also avoided a direct answer, instead criticizing Democrats for questioning past election results.
But let me look forward. Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter what happens, Senator?
Despite Welker reminding him that every Democratic candidate who lost immediately conceded, Rubio stayed evasive.
By the way, there are Democrats serving in Congress today who in 2004 voted not to certify the Ohio electors because they said those machines have been tampered with. And you have Democrats now saying they won't certify 2024 because Trump is an insurrectionist and ineligible to hold office.
With the discussion seemingly going nowhere, Welker cut Rubio off and ended the interview.
But I appreciate...
I never used the word widespread fraud.
I'm sorry. All right, Senator Rubio, thank you very much. I appreciate your time this morning.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Sarah Ferguson. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene probably didn't know what to expect when she sat with Australian newswoman Sarah Ferguson to discuss the release of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. The conversation stayed mostly on track until Ferguson shifted to Greene's support for Donald Trump and whether she would accept the 2024 election results.
And if it doesn't go your way, if Biden wins, will you accept the result?
Again, what does this have to do with Julian Assange?
The Congresswoman wanted to stay focused on Assange, but Ferguson pressed on, arguing that the election was a serious topic. Greene's frustrations eventually boiled over, leading her to question Ferguson's credentials and ask if she was getting information from the U.S. Democratic Party.
Well, I think the information came from our own government, and that's the important part that we need to talk about.
With Greene uninterested in indulging her, Ferguson brought the interview to a sudden end, and the Congresswoman ripped off her mic just before the cameras cut away.
But I understand that we've reached the end of the questions that you want to answer. Thank you for talking to us about Julian Assange and for joining the program.
Thank you. Good night.
Which of these interviews would you have liked to see go on even longer? Let us know in the comments below.
Well, I'm a big believer in the freedom of press and freedom of speech.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.